On News Center here at Universal City, I'm Conan Nolan. Thanks for joining us. It is quite likely that there has never been a mayor of Los Angeles who has as close a relationship with an incoming president as Eric Garcetti has with Joe Biden. So is it likely the mayor will take a position with a Biden administration? Yes, it is. The question is if it will be now or in 2 years when the mayor's term of office is up. We asked about that, along with questions regarding the homeless crisis, the surge in COVID cases, and reductions to the budget for the city's police force. This during an interview at Getty House, the mayor's official residence. So, Mayor, thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely. Good to see you, Conan.
Let's start with the obvious question.
Yep.
Have you spoken with the President-elect or any member of his staff about taking a position in the Biden administration once he takes office in January?
No, I got to talk to Joe Biden last Friday when I was sure he was going to win and congratulate him, and had a wonderful conversation with him just about what an honor it was to be a national co-chair of his campaign, to help him find a great vice president in Kamala Harris. And I knew him really well. We had worked together on things here in Los Angeles. We had had some very moving personal experiences together. After his son died, some really emotional moments. But I'd never worked for him, and I just told him it was the experience of a lifetime. But no, as I've always said, if the phone rings, I'll pick up that call from Joe Biden, but I'm not waiting for that phone to ring.
Right, but you are his closest ally out west, that's for sure. And he, if I understand correctly, in January of last year, when you said you weren't going to run for president, he called you up. And you talked about his potential race and declared in April. And so people would be surprised if you weren't offered a job in his administration. So you're leaving the option open.
Look, I want to help Joe be the best president we've ever seen. But more than that, as mayor of the city, I'm looking forward to having a friend in the White House. I remember what that was like when he was there. I remember what that was like when Barack Obama was there, and they listened to us, unlike Donald Trump, who's waged war on us. So I'm very focused on COVID-19, our economic devastation here, and investing in our infrastructure and addressing climate change in Los Angeles. If that phone rings, like I said, I always take a call from Joe Biden, but I'm not waiting for that phone to ring.
If you were, for the sake of argument, to take a position, the city that you would be leaving is in a state of crisis. You have COVID-19. You also have a homeless crisis. There's been progress, but it's getting worse. It's almost dystopian in parts of the city. It's a threat to the public health and safety, to us and to the homeless. You have a spiking homicide rate, while at the same time you're cutting the police department. Your tax base is eroding because we know people are leaving the city because they don't have to work here anymore if their job is remote. Considering all that, could you leave?
Well, it was a great Conan Nolan question that had like 5 things I want to respond to. So let me work backwards. First of all, we're not experiencing in Los Angeles what we're seeing cities like New York experiencing, where property prices are falling, people are fleeing. I would never bet against Los Angeles long term. We have 15 rail lines that we're expanding. We've got the Olympics coming here. We've got such huge infrastructure investment. This is going to be a powerful economy and a powerful place with prosperity for, I believe, the work we've done for the next 2 decades, even though this moment is tough. Second, homicides are up everywhere. And in cities that have not cut their police departments, we see homicides up even more. So I want to also dispel the idea that reallocating any money from police departments to other ways of addressing public safety make us unsafe. We have about a 1/4 increase in homicides. That is, unfortunately, the largest jump we've seen in a long time. The average of cities across America is over 30%. You look New York City, it's 34%. You look at Fort Wayne, Indiana, it's 54%. You look at Philadelphia, Houston, Phoenix, our peer cities are all having more homicides than us, and our overall crime rate is down. So we're focusing very much on homicides, taking guns off the street, solving crimes, but it seems to be a phenomenon of the pandemic that a lot of people are researching. With homelessness, this is not a problem that's going to end this month or 2 years from now. And one thing that I impressed, the only thing I actually asked Joe for when I became his chair was to make Section 8 vouchers, which is the primary housing program in America, a universal program. I'm convinced local governments can only mitigate homelessness, and we will never be able to solve on our own. We've doubled, tripled, and quadrupled the funds in there. This year alone, 8,000 more people we've been able to take off the streets. But this is a national problem that requires national funding, just as we did with hunger and food stamps, just as we did with health care and Medicaid. Medicaid way back, just as we did with senior poverty and Social Security. Until we give people a right to housing, we're going to be cleaning up the mess on the streets. So to get to the central question, I want to help Joe. He's going to need folks who are mayors doing that help, and he's going to need people in Washington, D.C. I'm very focused here now on what I can do and how mayors across the country can help support that he's going to need. And if he calls, I'll pick up that phone.
So we'll get into some of what you just brought up, but let's quickly turn to COVID. If the numbers start to look like we're seeing in South Dakota, is there a possibility for another stay safer at home order, or have you been there, done that, you'll need to do something else?
So it's a great question, Conan, and I think that that is the very last step that we can take. And when we take that step, it's basically saying nothing else is working. Think about right now. We've seen a doubling of cases, basically, daily cases, in the last 3 to 4 weeks. But the same things have mostly been open. So it shows that back then when we brought this stuff down, this isn't anymore as much about what's open and closed as it is our individual behavior. And most of the research and the tracing we're doing from the county is showing that this is coming from people gathering with each other, not that retail stores are open or that people are dining al fresco or that people are in some work environments. We proved that early on. Construction jobs, for instance, we kept them going, and there haven't been huge outbreaks by carefully monitoring the construction sites. Farmers markets, shut them down for a week, but then got them back up and running. We know more about this disease and how to live with it. It really now falls on us to control our own behavior, those family gatherings. People should be ordering a small turkey or maybe a chicken for Thanksgiving. They shouldn't get together with people just because they know them. They need to abide by that. Outside, no more than 3 households, 2 hours with face protection. Those things are really what's driving it, and I don't think that shutting things down will have the effect that it had early on, because most of the spread now is happening from other things now that we better understand this.
This is a weather-driven pandemic. The colder
Absolutely.
it gets.
Colder weather.
Right.
And now my fear is that people who have been hanging out with folks safely outdoors will say, ooh, it's cold. Let's go indoors and maybe open a window up or the door.
Doesn't work.
These places are dangerous. You know, as we were just talking about, don't share your air. Make sure that you are away from those confined spaces, those crowds, and those situations. And if we can do that, I'm so proud of Los Angeles. We've been consistently at the very top for a city of this density and this vulnerability. We've never had a massive outbreak. We were the first to shut things down, the first to have masks, the first to get rid of the African-American death disparity, the first tests for people without symptoms. All of those firsts have been amazing, but that's only as good as yesterday. Our work is today.